Here today, we are talking about the topic of a brother in a monastery. We have with us an anchorite from England. So, I'm sure many of us are wondering, what is an anchorite?
All right. I'm a member of the Benedictine Society. I'm an anchorite monk. And what an anchorite really is, it's like a hermit. But instead of living by ourselves, we live in a community of other hermits. We all have our own separate living areas where we're secluded, but we are part of a community. We separate ourselves from society, but still maintain the brotherly aspect of Christianity.
So, that sounds interesting. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
So, what does anchorite mean? Like the origin of the word?
All right, the word anchorite comes from like anchor. We're anchored to one sort of place. We are moved away from society and anchored to our community.
So, what made you want to become an anchorite?
Well, probably many of my local church figures, the local bishop, church father. My family was also very religious, which did not hurt. I would say I'm inspired a lot by Julian of Norwich. He was one of the first major people to sort of come up with the anchorite idea, the anchorite way, to really speak on what it means to be in touch with God. We separate ourselves from society so that there's less distraction from God.
So, where do anchorites originate from?
Anchorites originate from, we're European based. I believe the first sort of anchorite community was in England,
Okay.
sort of around that.
So, would you say that the process of becoming an anchorite was difficult, or was it okay?
Well, it takes a lot of mental preparation. Anchorites are sort of brought in with a funeral.
Okay.
When we enter into the anchorite community, we celebrate our death from society. We are no longer part of that world. We are part of our new world as an anchorite, as a brother, as part of our new community. We no longer receive word from social media or what's around us.
So, in other words, you're not in contact with the outer world.
We're
very
not in,
much.
that's a perfect way to say it.
Okay. What was the hardest part of your initiation?
For our initiation, we stay for a month without really any contact, inside of just a sort of single room cell type of thing. Cell probably isn't the right word. It's nice.
It's not a prison.
It's not a prison, but you never leave, and it's sort of just like your house. You live in seclusion like a hermit. And so eventually, once you get to a certain point, you sort of have a little bit more freedom. You never really leave. You can leave, but most people don't.
So, if you leave, is that like counting you out as not joining? Is that like a failure? Or what?
I mean, I believe in, like, if there's an emergency or special circumstances, of course you are able to leave. They are not going to hold you to the fact like, hey, you are now a prisoner, but you aren't supposed to leave. It's part of your job as one of the anchorites, as a brother, not to leave. It's sort of,
Yeah, not deserting your friends.
yeah, it's part of how we live. Food is brought to you, and when they bring food, you supply them with your waste products and stuff like that. And that's sort of how we are sort of able to maintain that lifestyle. That sort of is our only interaction with the outside world.
Okay. So just the process of being brought food is what like that.
Yeah. A lot of anchorites take vows of silence.
It's part of the initiation, right?
It's not required.
Okay.
Not all do it, but most do. I have taken vow of silence, but the Pope has allowed me to do this for my great friend, Mr. Arguello, to come here and leave my seclusion and come and speak to you today about what an anchorite really is.
Okay. What happens after your initiation into your anchorite denomination?
Alright, so after your month of living in your cell sounds bad, but that's just the official term, you move in to the actual monastery, where you live with your community of other anchorite brothers. I would say the hardest part about being in the actual community is first fast. We don't believe in indefinite fasting because it's harmful to yourself, and that's not something that God wants from us. God doesn't want
to
to.
respect your body.
Yeah, we don't want to mistreat ourselves, but we do fast, and we fast more than a lay person. We have sort of many times around the year, Advent, Lent, and then a couple others where we sort of just set aside for fasting. But that's probably the hardest part. We also are secluded from the rest of the community, but after our first month, we get a little bit more contact with outside. We understand what's going on around in the world, and we follow up, but we don't actively try to remain in contact with society.
So, another question. Do you enjoy what you do?
I would say this is probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. I love the anchorite. I love being part of a brotherhood, part of a community. I really feel like this has brought me closer to God, made me more in touch with my spirituality.
So, do you miss society and the perks of being in the outer world?
I did at first, but I've really gotten used to it, and it's difficult, but it's not something I wish to see, because I feel that this is what God has called me to do, and I'm going to follow my vocation.